Alright guys, today we're doing ball joint control arm, CV axle. Let's get started with taking the brakes off here. Ford Escape. We've got a transmission leak because the axle has popped out of the transmission. This ball joint has so much play, it's allowed that to happen. But we're going to change that seal as well on the transmission. You don't have to take everything apart, but I'm going to. I like to take everything apart, get it all out of the way, plenty of room to work. So we're starting off with a 7mm Allen. Take the caps off of the back of this caliper. We're going to use a little extender on the top one. The brake hose is in the way. And grab a flathead screwdriver. You want to press these pins back in the caliper, slide them backwards so they come out of the bracket. There's one. There's two. Just press that a little bit, make the caliper come off easier. Now we're going to take our spring clip off. These will break on you if you force them too much and they're rusted in there. I've sprayed everything down with PB Blaster already that I'm going to remove, except for these. I should have sprayed these. I think I got a couple spare ones of these laying around in case I did break it. Caliper comes off. Try not to drop the brake pad like I did. The other brake pad stays in the caliper. Now we got 18mm on the back. Mounting bracket. We're going to need an extender for that. Top one, we're going to use an impact. There's our bracket. Rotor is not just going to fall off on this one. We're reusing all these brakes. You want to hit right on the flat spot in between the lugs. This one's on there pretty good. I'm going to give it a little spray on that center hole where it's stuck, and the lug studs. Take a look at the back of the rotor, and it's got a bunch of rust clinging to the hub. We'll just give her a little spin, let her soak down for a little bit. We'll clean off the rotors afterwards with some brake cleaner. I don't have new pads or rotors here, so I don't want to hurt that rotor. So I'll get this rotor off. Loosen the axle nut. That's a 32 millimeter. I'm going to take a 10 millimeter where this ABS wire is. Gets in the way of the strut there. To get to the strut bolts. Those are 18 millimeter. So we'll take those off of the strut. We'll take the axle nut off. We'll take the rotor off. And there's an 8 millimeter on the ABS. And I'll get that wheel speed sensor off. Flip it out of the way. If yours won't come out of that hole without breaking, leave it in there and go all the way back and disconnect the wire up here through the splash guard there. We'll get that all taken apart and we'll be right back. Alright, there we go. Got everything apart. I had to take the tie rod off it. Tie rod end off. But those bolts will not come out easy most of the time. Working with some PB Blaster, hit them from both sides, spin them, spin them, spin them. And then you can take a pointy awl or something and punch them through. Don't hurt the threads. Got them off. CV axle, sometimes you gotta take an air chisel too with the pointy bit. This one came right out, perfect. All right, we've got a 15 millimeter on this ball joint nut and a 13 millimeter on the other side. So we're just gonna zip this off, the nut, and it looks like it's in there pretty good. A lot of corrosion and stuff. Give her a little spray. Take 13. See if we can get the bolt to spin from the other side. All right, it broke free. That works for me. All right, we're gonna have to work that ball joint off. So I think I'm gonna take the tie rod end off. It's 19 millimeter. I already took the cotter key out. Now we want a big hammer. We'll hit on that steering knuckle. And that loosens up the tie rod. This should be able to fall forward. We might be able to get the axle out of there. Yep. There we go. If you're just doing the axle, there you go. Let's spin this ball joint around. See if it'll break free. It's coming. Now this has a split in it. Sometimes you can open it up a little bit with the air chisel. Be careful if your ball joint's not coming out. I think I am going to take that air chisel to it. It'll make it easier to put the new ball joint through. There we go, steering knuckles off. Put an oil pan under your CV axle. Pull that sucker out. And most of the times you have to put a long bar on the back of this tulip, hammer it out. You can see there's supposed to be a retaining clip right here. This retaining clip is gone from that ball joint being so bad. Pulling on it, it ripped it out. Well, that's not good. It must be inside that transmission somewhere. Unless somebody installed this without a clip. Could be a possibility. Alright, we're replacing the whole control arm with ball joint. This ball joint is horrible. I can actually make it click. So we've got a 15 millimeter here and a 21 millimeter there. I've seen these rust right in. So you have to cut open the control arm to get something on it, to get it out. Let's see how bad this one is. Let me wipe these hands off. Now you can get an impact in on this, but you'd have to take your splash guard off. I don't feel like doing that. This guy out of the way. See what happens here. Oh, that's not good. It's gonna want to round it. I don't know if my 15's getting worn out or not. The next smallest size would be 9/16. Even a 12 point doesn't fit on it. Alright, this is caked in trans fluid. PB blaster. This seal had been leaking for a while, so that's why transmission fluid didn't really run out of it, just a few drops. Oh yeah, it's rusty in there. There's a little peek hole you can get your finger in. What I want to do is try to clean this off a little bit. Get my torch in that peek hole, heat up the nut that's welded into the engine cradle. We don't want this bolt to snap off, then you're in a world of trouble. So I'll get my torch on that and see how it goes. Usually this doesn't happen, but I've ran into it on these escapes before. I want to show you guys what I had to do to get this out. It's finally free spinning. Let's see here. Alright, the problem is the bolt was seized to the inner sleeve of the control arm. That's the outer I opened up with my torch. And that bushing will start to burn, so I had a water bottle handy. And then you cut a hole through the inner sleeve and hit it with an air chisel. Open it up, and that'll break that bolt free from the inner sleeve. When you put these back together, you're gonna wanna grease them, just in case you gotta take that control arm off again, so this doesn't happen. It's nasty. So if you don't have cutting torches like me, you gotta cut through that sleeve one way or another. Get an angle grinder in there somehow, chop the bolt off, get a new bolt, whatever you gotta do. Sucks, but it happens. Alright, I've got that bolt out. I went ahead and popped my old seal out. Tried to use screwdrivers and stuff. I used a seal tool, got the edge of it. It popped out easier than I thought it would. When they're rusty, a lot of times they give you trouble. I've got a little seal installer tool. Fits right on the outer ring of that seal. Help me punch it in. You don't need one of these tools, but it helps sometimes. We gotta get the rest of that control arm out. These bolts usually don't give you trouble. Well, it's all the way out of there, unthreaded, but it's not falling out. We'll grab an old pry bar here. There we go. Big bolt came out of the other side of the control arm. We'll put our pry bar in there. This guy's still going to be kind of hot. Alright. That's where I cut open the control arm. Hot sleeves on the ground. See, I cut all the way through the sleeve and then hit it with an air chisel to open it up to break the bolt free where it was corroded. Here's our old bolt, super rusty and nasty. Grease them up when you put them back in. All right, now we gotta put that seal in. Get these out of the way. I'll make sure it's clean in there. No debris when putting this new seal in. We're going to put a little bit of grease to help it slide in there easier. We want to get it started as straight as we can. This transmission, a little bit of a pain. It sits down up in there like that. It's pretty straight, staying in by itself. Give her a few love taps. Try to get her in there straight. You don't want to hammer right on the seal and warp it. We want to make sure it's flush all the way around. I'm going to put my fingernail in between where the seal's seated. In the transmission, and that one's in there good. Just going to put a little bit of grease on that seal. And that axle starts spinning for the first time. There we go. Time to put our new control arm in. Ball joints, you get what you pay for. Go with the premium, go with the lifetime. Put a little grease inside that hole where that bolt seized in. These can be pretty tricky to line up sometimes, but with everything out of the way, makes it a lot easier. I'm gonna lift up on the ball joint side. All right, she popped out of there. There we go. Stay up in there. Because this bushing has to be kind of like twisted into place. There we go. Yeah, we gotta line it up. That sway bar link is in our way. And that sway bar link will move a bit. Hopefully we don't have to take it out. Get all this to line up. Every time I get it lined up one way, it pops out another way. Annoying. There we go. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down yet, but I got her started in there, the big bolt. Now I got to line up the bolt coming in through the side. We're going to clean up that bolt that we took out. All right, we're going to wrap up this video. The CV axle, matched them up, look good. Put it in there straight before I put the steering knuckle on. And you want to shove it in there straight. And if it locks in, it won't pull back out easily. That's how you know it's locked in. Should be pretty much flush with the seal back there. We'll pull on it. Make sure it's locked in with that clip on the end. So after the axle's in, we put the steering knuckle back on our ball joint. And this bolt gave us new hardware with the control arm. Fits through a slot on that ball joint. Make sure you're through the slot. And with the strut still loose and the tie rod, we can fit this axle through our hub. And that axle nut, the new one, came with little pinch marks on it. Pinch those tabs over after you got it locked in. Tighten that down to 221 foot-pounds. You might have to have somebody hit the brakes to keep the wheel still, or put a chunk of wood on the brakes so you can get that much torque on it. But we're gonna put this axle through there, put the steering knuckle through the strut, tighten those bolts down, get the wheel speed sensor put back in, assemble the brakes, put the tie rod back on. We're gonna grease up the tie rod while we're at it, grease up the lower ball joint, and that'll do it.